You're with promoter Lou Dibella. Now, Lou, we have a big event taking place tomorrow at the Barclays. We got Keith Thurman, one time, taking on Danny Garcia. They're both defending their titles, the WBC and WBA welterweight titles. What are your thoughts on the fight?
Great fight. I mean, it's rare that you get a unification in the welterweight division. It's rarer that you get one between two undefeated fighters. But these are two guys, 28 years old, prime of their careers, trying to establish themselves as the best. And I think it's a terrific matchup. They're both offensive-minded guys. Both boxer punchers, but offense is the key to both of their games. They're not runners, they're not movers. They have lateral movement, but not backward movement. So I don't see how it's anything but a great fight. And we're going to have an incredible crowd at the Barclays Center on Saturday night. I'm hoping it's over 15,000 people. It looks that way, and maybe approaching a sellout.
Now, I'm not quoting word for word, but Danny Garcia was very avid about collecting a paycheck or collecting paychecks. Keith Thurman says he's fighting for much more than respect. He's fighting for his legacy. Who wants it more?
I don't think you could tell on the basis of those comments.
Right.
I mean, it is called prize fighting.
Exactly.
Everybody's got to earn a living.
Exactly.
Who wants it more? I think you're going to find that in the ring. That's where you're going to find that.
You also have a fight on the horizon. You got Kell Brook possibly taking on Spence. Now, who's the better fighter?
Well, I think the joy of what's happening right now in the welterweight division is that these guys are all matching up with each other. So we're going to find out. Right. We're going to find out inevitably, and I'd say probably in the next 12 to 18 months, one guy's going to emerge as the king of the welterweights. But Saturday night, that guy who wins takes a big step in that direction. Brook and Spence is a great matchup. There are other matchups coming at welterweight that are going to be quality matchups. There was some quality matchups recently. Lamont Peterson got a good win. Granados gave Broner a good fight. There are a lot of talent at 147, and I think you're going to see a lot of matchups that matter. And I do believe one guy's going to emerge. And the beginning of that is this Saturday night at the Barclays Center on CBS. Showtime Boxing on CBS, presented by Premier Boxing Champions.
Let's talk about CBS. Keith Thurman was very vocal at one time before fighting Sean Porter that he didn't want to fight on pay-per-view. He wanted to fight on free TV.
Why would guys? I mean, other than just like maybe making more money, maybe. Why would guys want to fight on pay-per-view? Yeah. It's fewer people watching it.
Exactly.
You don't see the World Series on pay-per-view. You don't see the Super Bowl on payper-view. You don't see the World Cup on pay-per-view. You don't see any of the major sports playoff games on pay-per-view. I mean, we take our biggest events, we make people go into their pocket. And by the way, it's not even our biggest events anymore. Now we push stuff to pay-per-view that's you used to see on premium cable or broadcast television. So I think that this effort to make big fights on broadcast TV, this Showtime Boxing on CBS with Thurman Garcia, this is great for boxing, man, because more it's accessible to more people, and it's in prime time. It's not 11:30 or midnight. The main event's going to go up around 10 o'clock East Coast, earlier in the rest of the country, so that kids can watch with their parents. Dad can watch with his son and daughter. Young fans get exposed to the best fights, and you don't have to dip into your pocket and spend. Who wants to spend $70 if you don't have to?
Right. Keith Thurman made his point when he fought Sean Porter. I believe that fight was on NBC. It was in contention, or CBS. Sorry, right. It was in contention for Fight of the Year.
Well, that can only help the sport, right? I mean, last Saturday night, the rating was on the average rating on the Wilder show was higher than the average rating for the primetime NBC hockey game. And I think it was NBC was a hockey game, I believe. But it was the primetime hockey game. Didn't do the eyeballs that boxing did. The peak on the boxing match was over 2.5 million, which wasn't that far off. It was below it, but not that far off from the peak on the primetime broadcast TV NBA game.
Right.
So boxing can compete at the highest levels in terms of viewership when you offer a good product.
Right.
That's how you build boxing, is more people watching it. Not pay-per-view, man. Right. Not pay-per-view.
Is it a clear message to all the bigwigs in the boxing business that we should have boxing on free TV?
I think everyone should already know we should have boxing. Yeah. Our goal should be that eventually, broadcast television is paying for our best product. And that's why I think the people that hate on what PBC is trying to do right now are out of their fucking minds and don't get it. Okay?
Any thoughts on tomorrow's fight with Tony Bellew versus David Haye?
My heart's with Bellew. I like Tony Bellew, great guy, and I'd love to see him pull off an upset.
One of my final questions, we have a very special fighter here by the name of Sugar Ray Leonard. What are one of your most memorable fights that he's ever had?
Well, I mean, there are like countless fights. Hearns, the first Hearns fight was one of my favorites. I love Ray Leonard. I think Ray Leonard is one of the greatest fighters who ever laced on gloves. And Ray's an old friend of mine, man. We worked together at HBO for years, and I got a lot of good memories with him outside of the ring. But look, Ray was one of the four kings. It was Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, Duran. I mean, and that was the glory days of boxing, and some of the great fights in the welterweight division with those guys too. And now I think it's cool that Ray's here for this, and I think it's cool that there's a resurgence of the welterweight division, and that this great fight on Saturday night is going to be on broadcast TV on CBS. I think that's great for the sport.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too, bro.